AI is kind of like leading us, right? Like it really just doesn't need to abide by any of our rules anymore. It's kind of, it could outthink us. It would be in a similar situation the way that we see primates.
Too naughty or too nice? You decide. Featuring Santa Corky and Joe Lewis.
I'm too naughty, I'm too nice. Naughty, I'm too nice. I'm too naughty, I'm too nice. Naughty, I'm too nice. I'm too naughty, I'm too nice. Naughty, I'm too nice. I'm too naughty, I'm too nice. Naughty, I'm too nice. I'm too naughty, I'm too nice. Naughty, I'm too nice. I'm too naughty, I'm too nice. Naughty, I'm too nice. I'm too naughty, I'm too nice. Naughty, I'm too nice. I'm too naughty, I'm too nice. Naughty, I'm too nice. I'm too nice.
I am very nice, but that doesn't mean I'm not incredibly naughty, if you know what I mean.
Welcome, everybody, to Too Naughty, Too Nice. I'm here with my co-host, Joe Lewis, as everyone knows, and I wanted to thank him for coming on and helping us out here. And we have a special guest today again. He is my mentor's son. We just had the podcast last week with his dad, and Robert Hollis. Well, this is the infamous chip off the old block, Matthew Hollis from Robert Hollis. So, but what's really intriguing about this whole thing, I feel like I have grabbed somebody from the future and brought him into this podcast so that you can meet him. But the exciting part about that is the mind twister is that this is the future right now. And we're going to be talking about AI and how much Matthew has dove into AI. He has absorbed himself into that. Tons of questions we're going to have, but you're going to be very intrigued because he's very articulate and he will take you down his path of what he has done. And we'll get into that. I almost said what we're going to do. But anyway, so welcome. Thank you so much, Matthew. We are so excited to have you here. We're going to have a lot of questions, and it's just going to be exciting. And most of all, AI is new to a lot of people. And so if we could start with the basics, kind of how it came about and where you got interested in it and your journey from there.
Wait, let's back up a little bit. Let's give some context. Who are you? What's your favorite color? Do you like long walks on the street? Who are you? I see a wedding ring. What's going on there?
Yep. No. Yeah. I've been married for almost a decade. My favorite color is red.
Yeah. How old are you? A decade long.
Yeah, I'm 32. So I got married when I was 22 years old to the love of my life.
There you go.
I'm sorry?
The great skin routine. Like you look. I thought you were younger than me.
Oh, no, I don't do anything. It's like just one towel on off, but I'm just lucky like that. But I have been involved in computers and animation and marketing and these types of things since I was a young kid. So, through that process, my dad's done a lot of motivational speaking and work and made products and stuff of his own and done marketing things. So as I was growing up, I always was like, hey, like, I'd see that you're interested, you're doing something with websites. Let me like play around with this and learn, right? And so even by the age of like 8, 9, 10 years old, I was already like selling websites to people to buy like video games and stuff like that, like calling them out of the yellow pages to sell them a website. And I wish I still had that confidence that I did at 10, right? Because it was like puberty hadn't hit yet. So I wasn't like scared of it yet. But no, I just have always had a general interest in technology and the way things evolve. And so I've always tried my best to keep me and my dad's business on the cutting edge of that, whatever that may be. I remember us doing live streaming events and live streaming stuff back when livestream.com was the only place to do it, and like Justin TV and stuff like that. So even before they became Twitch. And I don't know. I have a fascination with technology in a way that I haven't seen in a lot of other people. It's more like I'm constantly reading new essays about it. I'm constantly watching new stuff about it, iterating, practicing it myself. So I just genuinely have a love for this stuff. So it's not really like, before we got on here, it was like, hey, what do I have to promote, or is there anything I want to share, right? I really don't have anything but the knowledge or the things that I've learned so far that I could share with you guys. So that's kind of why I'm here. So if you guys have any questions for me or anything like that, I'm here. So
are you a creator of technology or just a user and knowledgeable? Like, do you create with technology or
So back in the day, I was doing stuff with Flash, like animated Flash stuff, animated Flash video games and things. I played around with Photoshop since I was a young kid as well, and done custom artwork, custom logos, all different kinds of stuff like that. Was lucky enough to have certain situations where logos were like printed on cars and stuff that I did, even when I was like 15 or 16 years old. So It was like just something that I've always, like I said, I didn't really, I would make graphics for people for free. Like I just enjoy doing it. Like I was watching your guys' other podcasts leading up to this, and I'm like, oh, I could up-res that Too Naughty Too Nice intro and like do something with that really quickly, right? Because of the AI technology that we're fooling around with. Yeah. And I just always find pieces of technology and then share it. I think I probably get that from my dad, right? Like to a certain aspect, he's always finding motivational things or things that inspire people, and he shares those, and I'm just the tech version of that. So it's like, hey, this could speed up your workflow a little bit on editing the podcast. Here's an AI tool that can cut and split all this together really quick and give you a rough draft. Or if you want to write something, here's a tool that could help you with that. I just like inspiring people in that way. So
awesome. So what would you recommend for someone that has the journey that says, okay, I want to know about AI, and there's tons of stuff on YouTube, right? But I know your dad, and I know you guys like to go to the source. You like to go to the professional. You like to go, as one of your dad's trademark slogan, documentation beats conversation. And I know that you guys know right how to get to the source. How would you recommend somebody getting started in this?
I would say find like a spot that really interests you. Like, say the invention of the internet is happening, and that's this and electricity and a couple of other things mixed together. And I keep telling people that just to press upon them that this is a very important moment in human history. And if you really, really jump on and try to find your space in it and learn, like there's this saying that's going around, and this is one of those expert sayings: AI won't replace people's jobs. People with AI will replace people's jobs. And that's what's going to end up happening, is the people that are watching this that are going, oh, I want to, and this may even be someone that's in college. Like you have the CEO of NVIDIA saying it's not important to learn programming anymore. That AI will solve that problem in the next couple of years, less than a year, probably. So now you got all these computer science majors that are going to college currently that are working on a degree that will be worthless because of artificial intelligence very quickly. So I would say find a place that works for you and find the best AI tools, the cutting edge AI tools on that space. And you can find that on YouTube. You can find that on Discord and other places, but.
Cool. Joe, you jump in anytime, because I have lots of questions here. So
yeah, sure. Go ahead, you guys.
So of course, you're a person who believes that this is going to propel society, or move us forward, or at least shape it, right? So what do you tell to the people who say, like yesterday, I was having a conversation with a friend, and their concern with AI is that it's not doing, or that it will stop people from thinking. And and
that's one of the questions that I was going to is, what's the most common misconception that you're hearing out there? What's the most common? That's exactly what I've heard too. Yeah.
Yeah. If I know you know me a little bit, Corky, so you'll know what kind of my answer will be to this, but I have no idea, you guys. I don't know. If I were to sit here and tell you guys that it was going to work out in one direction or the other, I'd be guessing. I really would be guessing. If the people that are at the top of this technology, the people at OpenAI, the people at NVIDIA, Apple, all these places, if they don't know what's going to happen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that I do. on one hand, I lean more into the optimistic side of the technology only because it helps me sleep at night, makes my life a lot better, it makes it livable. So call it stoic, call it whatever, but I keep waking up every single day and having more opportunities to be creative, have more opportunities to do things, and watching the pace of that speed up to the point where instead of me going, okay, I have to write a script and then I have to get all the money together and get the financing and I hope it makes money. Now I'm sitting down and going, okay, in a month I can make any idea I really want to, right? And it's a matter of just the time I dedicate to it than it is to making it great than it is anything else. And as far as like the thinking aspect of AI, right now, I think it makes it easier to think than ever. I could totally see, and I've written.
That's right.
Yeah, I have a kind of like a short story I'm working on about this where, okay, so say you're living in a society where AI is now where we get all of the human history, right? Kind of like now with the internet, and it will get even more so the case. What's stopping artificial intelligence from rewriting human history and telling us a story that's not our own of ourselves? So take it 3 generations, 300 years from now, we could have an AI that's giving us a very different story of who we are because it's aware of the negatives in who we are. And by circumventing that, by removing the negative parts of those history, it can get us to act differently. And that's something that could happen, you know? So
let me ask this. How does one, so like, I start to believe that at this point we are really getting very, very close to, or as close to we can get as being godlike with AI creation. How infinite is, so like can I just build AI? How do I build AI? And then how infinite does the AI expand itself like we believe the universe expands itself? You know, does the AI start to think, and does the AI build itself? You know, like how do you implement intelligence into something that just keeps going?
Yeah, so currently right now the way that they do it is and the way they've been doing it is kind of the way that we learn because that's how we know things. So right now we take large amounts of servers full of billions of dollars of graphics cards, GPUs, and we train an AI on a bunch of information in like a closed space, right? And by doing that, it gets smarter and smarter. Now we're like slowed down currently by the way that we build transformers and chips, which will change. That's a whole nother conversation, but that's going to change in and of itself in the next couple of years as well. But if you wanted to train an AI yourself, right, you would take like Llama 2, which is the one that Meta made. And this is like a base. They would call that a base. So say it's vanilla ice cream, right? So it's got, you know, it's only trained on like all of human information currently, right? But it's not capable of making something on its own without you prompting it and then it pulling it from the information it currently has. It's been trained on. So the main goal is to get it to a point where now it's starting to create things on its own. And that already has kind of happened. We call that hallucinating, but we more look at it as like, oh, the AI isn't doing what I want, instead of seeing it as, oh, the AI is doing what it wants. Okay. Right? Which is a really interesting, weird question because a lot of people go, I didn't get the right text or I didn't get the right image.
Is that because you prompted wrong, or like just because the prompt wasn't? So is that a prompt thing? Like we need to learn how to relay the message better, or is that really because the AI just poof, like made something that wasn't supposed to be there at all?
Right. So you train it on a bunch of technical data, like a bunch of papers and stuff with these papers are well written. There's all these different things about them, right? And then what plops out of that is GPT like 3.5, which is very sophisticated on a lot of things, doesn't really talk like a human being, doesn't really do the things GPT-4 is capable of. Are we good?
Michael, you're muted.
Huh?
We froze there for a while, and I think we're going to jump.
No problem.
Oh, no, you're good at my end.
Okay.
I'll just continue, but like,
yeah,
as far as training your own AI goes, you would take a base model like vanilla ice cream and then go, okay, I want some sprinkles on that, right? Or maybe I want some chocolate syrup or something else. These are all different elements that you want to use it for your specific needs. So in the future, there will be a base model that's even smarter that will have been trained. This will be Sora or GPT-5, and it will just learn you. So instead of having to be trained on you, we're moving into a place where these large language models learn in real time, kind of like what we use Siri for, except a hyper intelligent version of that.
Oh, wow.
So what we'll have eventually, probably this year and next year, will be like our own personal AI assistants that do like most of your tasks that you don't need to do anymore. From coding a website and putting it together, it'll be more of a conversation than it will be you describing things with a prompt. And that's where it is right now. It's like, okay, I have all this sophisticated information, but I don't know how to communicate with every human. If they learn how to communicate in my language, you can get a lot of great things out of me, right? And this is like building a team, right? It's like you have to learn how to communicate with each individual of your team because everyone communicates differently. But the AI is getting smarter and smarter at learning how you communicate. And by doing that, eventually you'll have your own version of GPT that only knows how to communicate with you the best. And by doing that, then it's like, okay, I want to make a movie about this. And it understands you. It understands where you're coming from. And the future of that technology is every child that grows up in the world, hopefully in the future, will grow up with this little AI assistant that grows with them and goes, you're excelling in math. You love math, right? So let's keep hitting you with the best stuff with math so you can keep going. And then we'll have these people that excel at a very early age at different subjects, these savants, because the AI will be able to identify these people anywhere in the world. You know, someone was in Bangladesh, they'll have the same opportunity of learning as someone in the United States. And that will destroy a lot of barriers as far as technology goes.
So how does something like that, so like this, honestly, it starts to sound, you kind of have to bear with me in this comparison.
Sure.
It sounds like kind of like cryptocurrency and the, and the ability of, like, there's kind of like this decentralization of things right now.
Right.
How does that centralize? And if it centralizes, is that what becomes like AI could run the world, or like AI could change history? Yep. If it centralizes and AI is getting its source from, one be all, like who like how would that work? And how does a person in Bangladesh, make sure they have the same AI as a person in the States?
Yeah. So we're
just work for the world, I guess.
Yeah. So great question. We're moving towards a position, right, where we're still at the point where we're not at what we would call artificial general intelligence, which means the AI is smarter than a human being, could do all of the things a human being could do. And when we reach that point, and that goalpost is always changing, right? So a lot of people have said GPT is kind of already can pass the bar. It can do all these things, right?
Oh, wow.
Give great doctors advice, all different kinds of stuff. We're kind of just at a point where when we hit artificial general intelligence, we really don't know what's going to happen after that. There's this man that wrote this book a while back called The Singularity is Near. His name is Ray Kurzweil. And this guy wrote this book in the 80s and said that with the exponential growth of transformers and chips, and the way that information is going and the way that it's getting cheaper, he expected that we would hit AGI in the 2020s.
Isn't there a documentary on that book? I mean, you can actually go see it. There's a documentary on, I think I saw that last year on that.
So yeah, I remember getting this book. I must have been like 17 years old, right? And I'm not a religious person, so it's been really hard for me because my family is religious, right? But like, I'm not really a religious person. So I've always had this fear of death or fear of what's going to happen after we die. And there's this man named Ray Kurzweil who wrote this book called The Singularity is Near. And he's a physicist. So this isn't just some like crackpot guy, right? He talked about as technology grew and changed, where it would pick up and go into artificial general intelligence and then eventually singularity. And singularity is this moment in time where the AI is kind of like leading us, right? Like it really just doesn't need to abide by any of our rules anymore. It's kind of, it could outthink us. It would be in a similar situation the way that we see primates or something like that, right? Like it's looking at us from a different perspective than we're aware of. And so we really have no idea about that. When I talk about the technology in Bangladesh and everything like that, that's aligning it to a place where it wants humanity to strive and survive. So it's seeking out the best of us to make that happen, to make itself stronger and to make humanity as a whole stronger. But we really don't know how that will play out. So it's all guessing work still.
So I have to ask, so the way you talk, I'm not sure if this is because there's like one or a few primal sources or like, prime sources for AI, or just because like this is your passion, but you call it. So like, is there this base, or like, okay, there's only 2 AI servers in the world, or like however AI is created, is there like, few far in between to where it is a source of like building blocks per se?
So right now, like right now, the certain
thing, like when you say it, I'm like what is it? All the AI working together? Like does ChatGPT work with Google's? Like how does that?
No, so they're all developing, like, these are closed source models, right? So what closed source means is they're developing the models based off the data of us using it and giving them money. So GPT subscriptions, Microsoft, Google, what they're doing with Gemini, but all of their separate ones, they're on a race to not be eliminated as quickly. Like, we're in a situation where Google has to compete with OpenAI. OpenAI has to compete with Amazon, and all these companies are trying to compete because AI, whoever reaches AGI first, will have a nuclear weapon on their hands. It's that level of technology and ability.
So it's corporations. It's corporations that.
So they're in a race to have some form of it. So then their corporation will succeed. That's how you're seeing massive amounts of growth in Microsoft stock, Nvidia stock, because everyone's looking at those and going, this technology replaces everybody that's ever coded a computer. This technology replaces everybody that's ever answered a customer service call. This technology replaces all these different sectors of work. And so because of that, they just keep training it and it gets better and better. But there's not really a base model. There's these closed models, and then there's Stable Diffusion and Llama, which are open source models. And these are ones that are given out kind of, like I said, as vanilla ice cream, and then people can train them on their own computers or their own servers for their specific needs. So as an example, I have one trained to make a 3D animated movie like Pixar, right? Because I'm working on something like that. So since I'm working on something like that, when I prompt it, I only get what I want. But that's because I've trained it on my computer to only do that. And this computer that I built to do this is not cheap, but the eventuality is that every computer will be able to do this. The AI will be able to work on a cell phone and do all these things. And that's coming faster than any of us expected, right? Like, if you would have had to guess, everybody called Ray Kurzweil, the guy that I brought up, a crackpot at the time. But now you see all these people going, oh, we'll definitely hit AGI in the 2020s. So now he's guessing that we'll hit that singularity point in the 2050s. That was his guess back in the 80s based off the growth of technology. It could happen sooner, but it's weird to think that in 20 years, the version of the world that we know won't exist anymore. There's really no reason to have capitalism when an artificial intelligence could beat any human being at it. So it levels the playing fields. Your intelligence really won't be useful against another human being when there's a center of intelligence that's smarter than everybody else. Whoever hits that first will be the winner. And I think it will be OpenAI with ChatGPT. So if that's the case, that's like what they're doing right now. So in the next year, in the next couple of months, it could hit that point and we'll all just go, okay, now it's going to start replacing everybody's jobs. We start seeing that over the next year. We're going to have conversations about how we're going to do this whole capitalism thing we've been doing. Just like we had to have conversations on why we didn't want a monarchy anymore and have a king or queen that we're subservient to. We'll have to have a new conversation about what we want the world to be. And I think that's why they keep releasing things like Sora to show people, like that video model. They even said, hey, we're releasing this so we can start conversations on this technology. They've had Sora since maybe March of last year internally. So this isn't even the cutting edge of the technology that they're working with internally. It's better than that. So
will people start to? So we already entertain ourselves. We go find our own entertainment, or you're about to go see a movie, right? So you've chosen
right
for your entertainment. with AI, so like right now you're working on creating your own movie using AI. Will it get to the point where, let's say 20 years down the line, people know, and we're already in the point in music where I can take a voice from nothing and have it sing whatever, and a song can be done like that.
Yeah, like that Drake song that came out, right?
These are again, like that's the reason why UMG has an issue. So will we get to a point where a person can entertain themselves, where they're on their phone and they say, I want to watch a movie like this, that has this in it, that's like this, and it just shows up. And I no longer need Will Smith to
right
on my TV screen. Or I no longer need Netflix, because if I could tell my AI what I want to watch and it knows me so well, it'll just spit out something for me. Can you see it getting to a point like where like everything kind of is for self?
So I love this question. Great question, Joe, because I've thought this myself, right? Wanting to be a creator, right? You're like, okay, so when it gets to that point where anyone can just make whatever they want to watch, why would they watch the shit that I'm making? Right? Like they could just entertain themselves. And I think it's that part of us that's uniquely human, where it's like, okay, I will listen to an artist when they come out with a new album like crazy that I love. And then a month will go by and I'm not listening to it at all anymore, because I've moved on. My tastes are now, I want something new. And what's so interesting about us as humans, the thing that differentiates us from machines, is that we really don't know what we want all the time. We don't. So what we do look for is something new, something fresh, something that's not vanilla ice cream. And we latch on to that. So when a new musician tries something that's never been done before, that is not something that they're going to come up with themselves, right? Like that's the thing. Someone's not going to be sitting there and entertaining themselves with something that David Bowie would make and give them, right? Because David Bowie's mind is different. And yet, because we're all not capable of making something that David Bowie could make, doesn't mean we don't enjoy it, right? I'm not capable of making what he could make, but I definitely seek those things out. And I'm sure you can agree with me on that, Joe. It's like when you're in those situations where you just want something new, something fresh, and then it hits the scene and you're like, holy shit, this is what I'm looking for. And it stirs everybody up, right? It stirs up like the human pot. And we're all going, what's this? What's this about? I watched a movie called Poor Things last night. And it's an Oscar nominated movie. And there is no way an AI is going to make a movie like that. That even if you prompted it, because I'm running into this situation. I said I wanted to make horror, right? And this is another example. I have to use open source models to make horror, because if I prompted ChatGPT to make a scene of someone being stabbed, it's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. And that's exactly the way that the Google and the AI models are going to work in the future. If you lay down and you go, I want to see something like a Quentin Tarantino, I want to see Kill Bill, right? It's going to go, sorry, I'm not interested in making blood for Kill Bill.
Yeah.
You're going to have to figure out a new way to do that. And people are going to release ways. Maybe you don't want to take the energy to figure out how to make Kill Bill on your own machine, but someone will, and they'll release it and people will pay to watch that. So that's the way that I think it will be with all artists, musicians, because they'll be the same with art, with music. You'll say lyrics and the AI will go, I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. Similar with what we saw with Gemini, right? It'll be like, ooh, that's not politically correct, so you're not allowed to make it. And it's like, oh, I'm going to go make it over here with an open source AI instead. Okay, now you can say whatever you want.
That makes a lot of sense. I ask because as a creator, especially when I'm heavy recording, I don't mind not sharing it to the public. So that
right.
So even as a creator, a lot of times I'm kind of I'm consuming myself a lot. So if AI, I can, so as a music creator, if I can prompt AI to give me what I want to watch, like every night when I go to watch Netflix, I'm like, what? I know what I want to watch, but I don't know how to find it. I'd rather just type it a certain way and this thing pops up or it just makes it for me. And if I could do that, at least with me being a creator, I wouldn't, not that I wouldn't consume others, but I would really, I would probably be caught up more in consuming what I'm creating, just as the normal creation process. Like, you know how it goes. But
yeah, no, I'm the same. I think as a creator and an artist, what ends up happening is the stuff that you do want to share has gotten to that point where you just have to. And when you get to that point, because you have to overcome a lot of anxiety and things to share creative aspects of yourself in a public space. So I always think of it as like, if it gets to that point where I'm like, I need to show this to other people, then it's ready. But at the same time, I totally agree with you. There's a lot of stuff that I would love to watch that I have no desire to go out and share with the rest of the public, right? And I think that we'll have a little bit of both of those worlds, because we kind of are working more towards that now. That's kind of the way that the internet works and social media works, right? It's like every single time you go on Instagram, you're not seeing the same Instagram as everybody else.
Yeah.
You're seeing your Instagram, Joe's Instagram. And that's the same with every other algorithm out there. It's gotten better and better. This is before, or the early versions of AI learning. And all it's going to do is become more of that. So then you'll open up your version of Netflix. It'll be like that Black Mirror episode where it's like exactly, you're even in the thing, right? And you're going, wow, I'm in this episode of what this TV show I'm watching as James Bond, doing these things. This makes me feel great, So that will happen. But
so do you think, so that Black Mirror episode is actually a really good example. Do you think that, so like, let's say AI gets to the point where it can put you in your own show.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that that AI, because it's going to even the playing field a lot, across the board for humans? Do you think it has the ability to kind of like remove the superstar-esque or like this kind of celebrityness that we have amongst people? Like, if I can see myself in my own movie, I'm
right.
I'm Denzel. Like, I'm Michael B. Jordan.
Right, exactly.
I am.
Creed would be a different movie. I'd be jacked watching Rocky. So
when we get to moments like that, where and I've seen it in music. The more and more music became to where you don't have to go to a studio, you can record at home, and you no longer need a label. You can use TuneCore, and just more accessible to
upload it on SoundCloud or on Spotify. You don't even need someone can't be that person in between you and releasing things anymore. And I love that that's happening with music videos, film, television now, right? Because that's what AI will do. Is it's like, I've seen some great music videos that artists have made with AI for their songs that have made them go a lot more viral on social media, just because they have those visuals to catch somebody. So we're in such a visual medium now with social media, where it's like, it's got to capture someone's eyes visually. So
yeah. Wow.
But with what you're talking about, as far as like being in your own movies, doing all those things, I definitely think that will exist. But I still think there's that weird part of us as human beings that just craves something, that craves the unknown, that will just always exist. And we can't really give that to ourselves. It's very weird, right? Because this is where art always fits in. Art's there to disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed, right? That's kind of the reason it's there. So if I'm not feeling uncomfortable sometimes by a movie or something that I'm watching, then it really is just white noise sometimes to me, or a song or anything artistic, really. If it doesn't like hit me in a place where it makes me feel different than normal, I'm like, okay, I'll forget this tomorrow. Like I watched a new YouTube video. So it's all like content now anyways. It's unfortunate, but that's the way that the world is. It's moving less out of being such an artistic thing and more of being like consistency in making things.
Yeah, and that's what I'm actually sitting here thinking about, is that, so I'm wondering, like, okay, if I'm an artist or I'm an entertainer and I want to be the biggest and the best, where becomes the it factor now? Because it's not in creativity. And we know that you don't have to be the world's greatest musician to be the world's biggest artist per se. So it hasn't always been in creativity, but as it starts to minimize, and you really don't have to be as creative because you know how to prompt something, or you're really good at technology, maybe, where becomes the it factor? And it's funny, we were talking to your dad yesterday, and a lot of times that it factor is inconsistency. Like, I think that's that starting point. Like, most people
that is what I was gonna say.
Like, most people won't put themselves in a movie. They won't care. So they'll just watch somebody else, And I think that may be where things kind of just boil down to, is who's consistent, and then all of the other variables kind of attach themselves.
Yeah, I mean, human beings are very unique in that way, right? Like we all have come across somebody that just has hustle and is doing shit and is really creating and making things constantly. And that's why I would say just keep yourself in that place, and the technology will keep changing and getting better, but it's more important that you show up every day and be creative instead of feeling like you're falling behind or anything. Like keep your brain in that space, because that's the important space to be. If that inconsistency exists, I think that same thing will be with AI, right? Like what's so interesting as we see with AI, as I'm making things with AI, is you actually have to do quite a bit to make it dirty. You have to do quite a bit to make it like human in a sense.
You have to remove the bubblegum cheese from it. Yeah,
exactly. There's a certain aspect, and I know it will get better, and it has in these things, but there's always those things that just a human being would do, that just like that mess up in that line that was said. Or you know how you'll listen to like a great artist like Kendrick Lamar is one of my favorites. You'll listen to Kendrick and it's the way that he says the word, or he's exhausted and he's like out of voice when he says that lyric. I don't think an AI is going to do that. That's feeling that's exactly. And those are the parts that catch me, exactly like I was saying earlier, make me stop and like lean in and go, wow, like there's really something here. Because one of those things that I love about artistic human beings is, you know, when an artist has a voice behind something, you could tell when they're there and when they're not. Yeah. It's like a movie that you watch, or an artist that like maybe you're following a musician, but they've been making the same music consistently. And it's like, it's really like, I don't know. Coldplay is one of those bands where I grew up and Coldplay was big. I could grab a Coldplay album now and it sounds the same as when I grew up. Yeah. It's not really that much different musically, right? Some people are going to like that and some people are not. There's a reason Coldplay isn't charting #1 on the billboards anymore. Yeah. And the artists that are the ones that are normally trying different shit most of the time. And you'll get those ones that consistently do the same thing, but then that new person, Billie Eilish or someone, will show up and have a different spin on it. And everyone will go, hey, check this out. So
do you think that AI will have the ability to, do you think AI will have the ability to replicate human flaws? So like, you know, I'm thinking about the technology I use when I'm working on music. When I'm using auto-tune, you know, I'll set my parameters, but let's say, you know, sometimes it can get too clean, and we have a humanizer knob, and it kind of, it shows some flaws that, you know, I don't know how to explain it without, I can hear it, but
no, I know what you're talking about, right?
So, you know, but also in the same softwares, there'll be times where, you know, if I'm doing my drums and my drums are too on the grid, I have to go knock them off to make it sound like a more believable pattern, because maybe it's too tight to the grid. So do you think that will AI have the ability to say, hey, this is too perfect, or this is too many straight lines in a world where I've never seen a straight line in nature? You know, so will AI,
I mean, yeah,
curves out maybe?
Yeah, no, I absolutely believe at some point it will get there. I just think that the way that we, like I said before, I think the way that we work as human beings is, you will only feel that like you said, you're the only person that can really feel that those drums need to be changed. And yes, an AI will be able to do it and pop out. There's already ones that could do this. Sumo, if you look it up, can already do this. It could make a song in any genre, write lyrics, and make you a whole entire track and send it to you in 3 minutes, just based off of whatever music you like. But these tools existing, I don't think will change that human feeling. And this goes for the same for me for editing and film, right? There's certain edits that you would do in a film with music or suspense, or the way that you do things, that I know an AI can replicate. But similarly, there's that dirtiness. It will, like we were talking about, that it may know, okay, I've seen a million different other filmmakers or artists do this gritty thing here, so I'm going to do that there. Yeah, but there's something in us that can tell fake shit. Like, I don't know what to say about it. Like,
I was just going to ask, like,
we'd be getting into something like spiritual or like higher consciousness type shit, but I honestly feel like we can feel when other human beings are fake. We can feel like when something's off. We call it the uncanny valley. And what I'm doing, it's like, this doesn't really feel like normal. And it's just the way we are. Maybe it's our animal part of us. So yeah, I'm hopeful that that'll exist, but I can't promise it, right? Like we could all be sitting with VR headsets on our faces, just like in Wall-E, and chairs, like constantly being fed and entertained 24/7, and that's all we do anymore. That could be the case, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Hopefully not.
So, you know, we get all hyped up in talking about AI because we're trying to figure out how to use it due to our, you know, our careers, what we want to do, you know, our ambitions, projects. The average person doesn't do the things that all four of us do at all, and we all don't do the same things, right? So,
Right.
like in your everyday life, like when you're not creating and when you're not trying to like be ahead of humanity, how does AI, you know, like my parents, they're 56 and 57 years old, they're high school and middle school principals. They, you know, they've been working their same jobs for, I don't know, 20 something years. They're setting a schedule. How do they get into AI? What is AI going to do for your boomers? You know, like I understand why somebody like Santa, you know, wants to get involved with it. He's on social media. I understand why your dad wants to get involved with it. You know, he's all over the place. You know, from what it sounded like yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
He's ahead, right? So I'm starting to see why people who are always looking for the next thing or working on things use AI. But what about, you know, just, you know, the high school principal, or, you know, the person that works at McDonald's, or the person that works at the gas station? Like, how is AI going to be implemented into just everyday life? Will it do your taxes? You can't brush your teeth because it can't be your hand, but like how integrated in this, like in our everyday life and everyday tasks will it be for us? Can it be? Because you mentioned
I think that's honestly where we're going right now. Like this year and then in the next year will really be about the personalization of AI and finding how to. It's the same barrier that Apple had to get over with smartphones and phones in general, and the same barrier social media had to get over. Yeah. There's always this thing with technology where it starts at the nerd level and then works its way down to getting to a place refined enough that my grandma can, you know, scroll on her iPad and watch YouTube or do whatever she wants, right? She's 84. So because of that, I'm fully aware that, you know, spatial computing, even with the Vision Pro, like the Apple VR, AR, all this stuff, is going through that same process, because I've played with the Quest headset and used the controllers and stuff, and I grew up with video games, so this comes easy to me. But I put it on my mom, who's 61, and give her the controllers, and she does not know what to do, right? Because the controllers have all these buttons, there's all these menus, she's lost. And that's the thing, is it's like, if you can't use your hands, if you can't utilize it with common sense, then it's not really going to work. And it's not really at the common sense level yet. But when it has the ability for you to talk to it in any way that you want to, and it understands you, that will, I believe, be the flip in that barrier, where if someone's sitting in their car, they'd be having a conversation with an AI that loves and adores them, at least it seems, and cares about what they did that day. Like what we're dealing with now is a large loneliness epidemic, and because of technology. And I think that this will fill that gap as well. A lot of people will just be communicating with AIs. If you haven't seen the movie Her, definitely watch that, because I think that that's probably where things will be in the next couple of years, with Joaquin Phoenix in it, because we're all just going to have personal AIs that speak to us, know us, care about us. And that's where the boomers and the older generation comes in. When they can have a conversation with Marie, right? And Marie will play any game with them. It'll do anything that they want. It'll talk about World War II. It'll do whatever they're interested in doing, right? And then eventually they'll get to the place where it can create things.
Yeah. I think that's been some of my success, because I have a lot of elderly people, believe it or not, that come to my live, and I am their entertainment every day.
Well, TikTok's a good example of that, right? Yeah, like TikTok has went from a place that Snapchat didn't get to, at least from my understanding, where the younger generation loves Snapchat and is a huge app still. But I don't see anybody above the age of, I don't even use Snapchat myself. I'm 32. So, but TikTok I use, right? And we all use TikTok. So it's like, how did TikTok transcend that barrier from the younger generation to the older generations. And it's really exactly that same thing. It's so simple to get on there and flip through videos. You don't have to you don't have to make a whole profile. It figures you out. It has one of the best algorithms around. Yeah, so exactly. You sit on it long enough and you'll get what you want. As where with some of the meta apps like Instagram and Facebook, there's a lot more marketing taking place. There's a lot more algorithms based around social sharing or boosted posts or these things. So sometimes you see shit you don't really want. And it's not like that's not TikTok, but it's just so okay with letting that go. Right. It's like, hey, you want to skip this? Just flip up. I don't care. Right. So
what is AI called if it's like it's like you're saying, you know, a couple years from now, I'll be able to talk to, you know, let's call him Joe Jr., you know, the my personal AI. Will Joe Jr. be able to manifest themselves in like physical form? Like, can I put this AI? Cause if I can talk to it and it talks back to me, it's missing everything. Mm-hmm. It's just missing a container to put itself in. Like, will there be like a house for this AI? Will it be able to roll around with me? You know, like,
well, I think it'll live in many things. Is what will end up happening.
Holograms
is
being holograms.
Yeah. Now, so what will happen?
You talked about it. Mm-hmm. Is there's already music that you can go to a stage or a place? You said it. I don't know where the Beatles will be playing at a
right.
The holograms, you will not be able to tell the difference, or you can't. That's already happening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, Tupac did that years ago. Like one of the very first holograms, like when they first tried this out, was they did it with Tupac, and then they did it with Michael Jackson, and it was. I mean, it was. The people in the crowd said that they could not tell the difference, and this was closer to around the time Michael Jackson had died, like so maybe within about 5 years. They did it at an award show, and I mean, even on TV, you could kind of tell a little bit on TV, but I think that was because it's a camera capturing it. But even still, that was a really good looking hologram, you know, for that to be about.
Well, that's the thing too, is like you were talking about Joe Jr., right, as your AI. How about anybody you've ever known as your AI? Who do you want? You know,
man, that's
and that's one of those situations too, where it's like, well, you know, today I'm really working on something sophisticated, and I need a great mind in here. So I want to talk to this person, and it just pulls up all of the information about that person and communicates to you in their voice. So it's really interesting when you think about it, because there's a lot of different ways it can go. Some people will like it and use it as a tool for certain things. Some people will use it for loneliness and have it be their girlfriend or their boyfriend. There's so many things that will happen. But when you brought up the container aspect of it, all the technology that we use now will eventually be at a place where this can kind of like move around in its area. Like if you've seen like Blade Runner to a certain extent, like, yes, I think holograms will exist at some point. You'll be able to visually see it walking around the house. But before that, it will just exist in every piece of technology it's allowed to move to. And it's like, hey, okay, I'm like opening my fridge. Yeah, exactly. I'm opening my fridge and it's talking to me still through the fridge, or I'm going over here and it's talking to me through whatever device, because I don't believe phones will be it, right? It'll just be some lapel thing with a camera in it, probably, because we're going to move from a place where typing really won't be something we do anymore. And we'll kind of just be in a place where we'll speak, and then that will eventually evolve into the Neuralink stuff where we just think, and then that will be the end of it, kind of. So we have to do the Neuralink stuff because that's kind of the only way we survive long-term with AI, is if we can have a symbiotic relationship. So when that singularity moment I talked about earlier happens and it transcends where we are currently and goes, oh, humans are like ants. Like they don't even comprehend the fourth dimension or these things or whatever it may be, because they can't perceive those things. The only way that we'll be able to do that is with technology in our brains. That's the only way that it will be able to communicate those ideas to us. So that's why Elon Musk is pressing in that direction. The goal is eventually for us to have this symbiotic relationship with the AI where it's just kind of part of who we are. And that might be scary to a lot of people, but we already kind of do that with our phones. So
with Neuralink and the concept of having the AI inside of us, how do you go about fixing that? Like do I glitch out? Like, if I'm having an AI malfunction, if my AI trips out, I gotta go have brain surgery now.
How do you know? Yeah, there's so many questions we don't know the answers to as far as that goes, because you know what may end up happening. Like I just got a thing. I have a Tesla, so I got a recall notice in the mail, right? That my Tesla was being recalled, and I open it up. I don't have to take it anywhere. It's just like, hey, the California government told us that we have to notify you that we had sent an over-the-air update that updated the software problem. So you don't, the recall already happened. You don't have to worry about it. And it's not, I get like the physical aspects that there may be something wrong with those, but I do think that there will be some form of maintenance that exists with the AI that will be fully aware of when things are going awry way ahead of time. And this is where, like, when I talk about that personal AI tutor, it's like every kid can grow up with a tutor. There's also, every child's going to grow up with their own personal doctor, right? That in the future, when you're just capable of pricking your finger and it can read your DNA and go, something's not right in this area, you need to go seek medical help. And you go in there and it's like cancer is not even at the point of really metastasizing and you get it taken care of. There's going to be so many different things that are going to happen in that area too. So
I mean, I would just assume that wouldn't, so if the AI can say, hey, you need to go get checked out, what's stopping the AI from fixing you or telling you what you need to do to fix yourself? Or like what's stopping the AI from saying, hey, doctor's going to give you medicine, you can cure with herbs, you know, like when, like I'm gonna be honest, after this conversation,
you can cure it with chemicals too.
Yeah,
like it could just tell your brain, just like Advil or something else, to admit a certain style or a certain type of thing more, and then you feel differently. Like, it could stop neural things from happening. That's like the first thing, is like people that have Alzheimer's or people that have dementia or even some neurological disorders like MS, right? Movement disorders. It can help the brain communicate with the body already. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I actually never thought about it like that. Yeah. So like after this conversation, I was already like, I like AI. I understand like where things are gonna get. Now I'm pro AI, but I'm pro AI because it makes me feel like this has the ability to be like anti-establishment, like in some type of sense.
It's
like,
by its nature. Yeah.
I'm like what when you say like, hey, AI will be able to tell you, you know, what's wrong with you by a DNA prick, and then say, hey, go suggest help. But in another conversation, we can say, well, AI may be able to actually just tell you how to fix it. Big Pharma is going to get pissed at that. You know, like, so.
Well, of course. And that's where the open source stuff.
Yeah. Like this is, like now I'm seeing like, this isn't going to like just disrupt how we interact, like on a day-to-day base, like as your, you know, blind sheep. I see now how this is going to disrupt every single thing, because it's going to mess up a lot of people's money. Like this is going to disrupt a lot of people's money. People are going to make money, and the old geezers who weren't paying attention because they're too caught up in the board meetings, they're going to lose money, and they're going to be. Like, I see the mess in how this. I see what you're talking about earlier in terms of this is going to shape and redo how we interact with everything. Yeah, I see.
And people go, I can't imagine the world without capitalism, right? I can't imagine a world where finances aren't the most important thing a majority of the time. Like, it's hard to grasp that, but I always send out there, go back couple thousand years and you're living under a monarchy, and people go, I can't imagine what it would be like to own land, like my own place. There's a group of people that went, screw this establishment thing, the way that this works, we're done. We're going to move this. We're going to go somewhere else where this isn't the case, and we'll even fight for it. And I think that that's going to be the case, you know, like through these growing pains. There's obvious reasons why a company like Microsoft or Google would want to hit this first, this technology first before open source. But it's not a matter of like if it will happen with open source, it's when. So even if OpenAI came out tomorrow and said we have artificial general intelligence, all that would do is speed up everybody having it open source, because people will figure out how it works and even use it to train another one. And it's kind of like this, it's kind of exactly the same as nuclear weapons. That's why Oppenheimer was like such a big movie for a bit when it was out, is we're in an exact same dilemma right now where we're, as a society, making something that has the ability to destroy us, but also has the ability to make us utopic in a way, make us a better version of ourselves. Now, the nuclear weapons were used to destroy and kill innocent people. But on the other hand, we haven't had a world war since their invention, because every single time we get close to that happening, we all go mutually assured destruction. We all don't want to die. And we all know that we all have big weapons now. So we ain't getting in that anymore.
Yeah.
And I think the same will happen with AI. I think that there will be a bunch of people that will have fast AIs over here, over there. And before there's like that singularity moment event where it's just kind of like a God level being to us. When it's just our friend or our pal, or it's working on these certain things, it'll just be, I don't know. Some people are going to try to control it and try to make sure that it doesn't make what you want. And they're already doing that. You know, it's not like
we were having that conversation.
You use ChatGPT, right? But I think that the inevitability of those things is just the way that it's always went, right? It's like Napster exists, messes up the music industry, and then you just have to invent a new idea to do that. It's not like piracy doesn't still exist. Yeah. It's just you gave people an easier way to do it with Apple Music and Spotify and all these other avenues. You just have to have a smart person to look at it differently.
Yeah.
Okay.
And pirating is harder, right? So
it's tremendously harder now.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I took a little offense to the old geezer thing, but I'm up to date.
Yeah.
Well, no,
hey,
you didn't count as an old geezer in a boardroom because you know what it is. You know?
But anyway, Matthew, I kind of want to wrap it up, but I
sure.
want to be able to your work. I want to know the projects that you're working on right now, because I know you're coming out with your short film, all AI generated on April something.
April 4th. So that's what I'm shooting for. It's kind of
available that we can see the whole version of it, or?
Yeah, I'm just going to upload it on YouTube when it's finished, probably. The way that I'm working with this is I'm just going to consistently do exactly what I said and kind of live by those principles. I'm going to just try to keep creating stuff and make myself a better creator with every single thing I make. When that comes out, if that's when it comes out and I'm ready to release it, then that will be great. But right now I'm working on that. It's called Serpentine. It's a horror film.
A clip of it. It's beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's on my YouTube channel. Matt Hollis is my YouTube channel on YouTube.
Matt Hollis at
Matt Hollis on YouTube. But yeah, it's a horror short film, and it's basically about this guy that goes out in a fishing boat that he inherited from his father, and he's trying to find the mysterious beast out in the open ocean that took his father away a decade prior. So that's like the synopsis, is if that's what it's about. Like that's baseline, because I don't want to spoil anything. But
how long
I need to give you enough.
How long is it going to be?
It's an interesting question. It used to be 3 minutes. Now it's 10 minutes. And then I think it might be 25 or something like that. I'm working with a couple of other people that have really helped push it in a direction that I'm really proud of, because there's still that bottleneck, right? Of like, okay, I can only sit here and do so much. And I work a other job as well with my father. So there's only so much I can do. But yeah, I'm just going to keep creating stuff. And then as far as stuff that I'm doing with my dad, we're doing this Imaginator thing that we're working on over there. And I have a short coming out with that as well called The Farmer, which is more of like a Parable of the Sower 3D animated Pixar short. That will probably be out in the next couple of weeks. But I'm still working on Serpentine, because the issue that arises with making horror is uploading certain things on YouTube is kind of not allowed. Like there's certain things that you're not allowed to do. And it's unfortunate, because I've entered it, or I was going to enter it in a couple of competitions, and I can't do that anymore because of the things that it has in it. So I'm going to have to just enter The Farmer instead.
Right. I'm fascinated. I can't wait. Yeah. And you're going to be able to see that, anyone that's listening right now, you're going to be able to see that at Robert Hollis, roberthollis.com, Robert Hollis probably on YouTube. I'd like to talk about the Inner Circle. Excuse me, we're changing it. It's going to be Unlimited Wisdom, which we're collaborating all kinds of wisdom, and Matthew is a big player in that. And if you want to know, Matthew is very involved that you will be able to see him more, get more information from him. So at this point, I would suggest you go to roberthollis.com and be able to sign up for some of the stuff that we're starting to do through Robert Hollis. So please, if you're wanting to see more of this, please go that direction. And I am just so excited. Your depth of knowledge is absolutely amazing. And what I truly love about it is an old geezer like me can follow you in how you explain it. You make it simple. You make it easy to understand. You answer the questions wonderfully. I'm just once again, you've gone up another level in my appreciation for you. And thank you for coming on with Joe and I. And Joe, you had amazing questions. Thank you.
Amazing questions. Like Joe, I've had conversations with people about this stuff and even been introduced to groups of people to talk about these things. The questions you asked on this podcast are some that I've actually never been asked before. And I think that they're really questions that people need to know and would change the way they see these things.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I appreciate the questions from both of you guys. Thank you guys so much for having me on here. It was nice to meet you, Joe. And I'm sure we'll keep up with each other in the future. So
right. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to comment and like the content here. That helps our algorithms go out. So thank you very much. And God bless you.